Hello sewing friends, I am here and I'm going to try this project one more time. The live didn't go well, but I'm hoping that this recording goes well. I have all my supplies here. I have a ruler and a marking pen. I have some elastic and a button and some trim for decoration. And the elastic is for usability. And I have a 12 by 12 inch washcloth, and I have some fabric that is just a little bit larger than a washcloth. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to take my washcloth and I want to prepare it for the project. And I'm just going to draw in some channels here. So I'm just going to start with the edge, and this is a Frixion pen, and the ink is removed when you apply heat. Very faint. So that's a 3-inch channel. Now I'm putting in a 2-inch panel. Okay. And then another 2 inches. And another 2 inches. And we should be done drawing the channels. There we are. Now the next thing I'm going to do is this is going to be folded up 3 inches, like so. And then the elastic is going to attach to this upper third portion. So I'm going to take a pin and I'm going to go ahead and sew my channel. So I'm going to go ahead and put that elastic in there, and I'm going to sew here. Then I'm going to fold it over, and I have the wrong piece of elastic. Thank goodness I tried that. And then I'm going to fold this over, and right along where my channels are, I'm going to go ahead and put stitches. And I'm actually going to do a zigzag stitch. So since this was the end and it was open, I'm going to trim this just a little bit to get rid of some fraying. I'm going to fold the elastic over, and I'm going to sew that again to give it a nice clean finish. And again, I'm using a zigzag stitch. Otherwise, you can pull your elastic and pop your stitches. I'm just going to go ahead and eye it. Hopefully it comes out okay. Next channel. I'm not pulling it tight because I do not want this to buckle. Now that I am at the end, I want to make sure that I have enough here. So that I'm going to take this and fold it over and pin it down without putting any tension on here. See, if you put tension on here, what's happening is your piece is going to shift and it's not going to lie flat. This elastic is just to keep your item secure. Go. I'm going to cut all the thread here. And the thread in the back. Just going to remove the loose ones, and everything else I'm just going to keep there. Now I'm going to work on the outside piece, and for the outside piece I'm going to need my ribbon and my button. So I'm going to fold this in. I'm going to go ahead and lay this. Okay. So this is going to be folded up 3 inches. And so what I want to do is I want to get the half of the remaining. And so the half is going to be, I'm going to go ahead and get a pin, put a pin through there and turn it over to show me where I am going to put my tie ribbon. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the ribbon to be twice the width of this. So it'll be 24 inches. And I'm going to get the middle right next to my pin, open this up, I'm going to pin it here. And I'm going to make sure I do not have my washcloth. And I'm going to go put a couple stitches here. So just tack it down. And the button is going to go on the outside, but I'm going to hand sew that at the end because I do not want that getting in my way with the sewing. Now I'm going to take, I guess I'm taking the rest of my ribbon. I'm at the end. So I'm going to cut my corners to give them a nice angled look, as a ribbon should be. If you do not want it to be open-ended, then I suggest taking your open ends, closing it, lining it up on the edge of the fabric, and then sewing this way, and then you will have a loop at the top. But because I want open-ended, I'm going to have my open ends down. So I'm going to take this to my machine and tack it. We're halfway through, so now I'm going to take all of the ribbons, put them in the center. I'm going to take my wash rag. So because I have a tag on the back side, I'm going to make this my back side. They're both the same, so it really doesn't matter. And plus I also have my loops here. So I want to make sure that I have the top of the fabric and the top of the washcloth facing the right direction. And I'm going to line up the top of my washcloth with the top of the fabric, and so that's going to leave me some extra fabric around the edges, and that is fine. I just want to line up one edge. I'm going to pin all of my corners with the pins going from the outside in, so that way whenever I am sewing, I can pull them out at a comfortable angle. And then on the side, I'm going to put 2 pins to represent my stop and start line. So I have 2 pins here and 2 pins here. I'm going to start stitching here. I'm going to go all the way around and I'm going to stop here. I am going to line up my presser foot with the edge of the washcloth. Dropping my needle, back stitch. Every now and then I stop and make sure that my material is flat. Go around the corner slow, make sure your needle is down before you lift up your presser foot. Now with my shears, I'm going to trim off the extra at the corners here and any excess. There's a little bit hanging out. It's okay to let that stay there. I'm not looking for a perfect cut. I'm just getting rid of excess at the corners. Now the hole. Now you're going to take your material and you're going to pull everything to the outside, nice and slow. Go around the edges and make sure that everything is brought to the outside. I'm just going to check all of my edges to make sure that the corners are flat on the inside. So here's my opening. I'm going to close it. And I'm going to pin it. And I'm going to sew around the edge. Starting at the opening, I'm going to lay, and I'm going to line up the edge of the fabric with the edge of my presser foot and drop my needle. I'm going to use a wider stitch. And I'm trying to make sure that the fabric versus the terry cloth, I want to make sure that the fabric is mainly staying on one side and not having this roll under. And then I want, how can I say, I want less of the fashion fabric to show from the terry cloth side as much as possible. When you get to the top part, you want to make sure that your ties or your loop is hanging out to the right. If it is underneath the material, you're going to sew it and then you'll have to unpick it. So make sure that your ties are out of the way. at the end, back stitch. This is where you should be right now. And the last piece is we are going to make sure that this is somewhat square. And using my ruler, I'm going to fold this up 3 inches. The edges can be a little bit wonky. I'm just forcing them to fit. And then with my pins, I'm going to pin the edge here. I'm pinning this in between my channels. And then making sure that my ribbon is out of the way. I'm going to start here. And that would probably be helpful with your marking pen or your chalk or your pencil. Retrace, redraw my channel lines. And starting at the stitching line that we just made, I'm going to start there and I'm going to sew straight down. It's your choice. If you want to start all the way at the top and go straight down, you can do that too. It's pretty thick, so I'm taking my time. And to do the end, because I control the fabric with my left hand, I'm going to flip my project, holding my thread out of the way. It's pretty thick over here, so I'm just going to help the wheel by turning the wheel and pushing lightly on the pedal. And if it's stuck, I'm just going to give it a nice little push. Nice and slow. And my needle broke just in time. That was pretty thick. Look at that. It's pretty thick. Broke the edge of the needle off. Okay, so I'm going to remove my pins. I'm going to cut off all of my thread tails. our little case. So now I'm going to grab my button. I'm catching thread tails here and there. Cut these. So I have some needle and thread here. I am going to sew here. I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot. This button already has a shank. So if you're using a button that has the holes, 2 or 4 holes, you would sew it on that way. You would sew it using those holes, not sew it on that way. So I'm going to go ahead and give this another stitch. I just don't want this to fly off from any aggressive handling. I'm going to put my button on here. I'm going to pick up some more thread. I'm going to turn my button sideways so I can see everything. I'm going to go through here. 1, 2. To tie it off, I'm going to hold my thread and I'm going to take the needle around and through this hole 1 time, hold it, go around through the hole twice, and then I'm going to take the needle through the ribbon into the inside of the fabric, and I'm just going to pull the needle out anywhere, just away from the center. And I'm going to, so what happens is the thread is now on the inside, and so I'm going to pull the thread just a little bit. I'm going to trim it, and then the thread tail pops back inside your project. I use that technique all the time. And so here we have it. I like the tie technique because then this can be tied to a towel bar, or it could be tied to the shower curtain rod. If I had made this a loop, then I would always need a hook to be able to hang this. So here's the tie. I got my channels. I'm going to take this over to the ironing board, and I'm going to press this, and once I put heat, all of my lines here will disappear. And then whenever they put their toiletries in there, there's the tie string. Like a tie. And there you have it. DIY travel kit. I hope that you make this project. If you do decide to make this project, please post it, share it, send me a private message, however you feel comfortable, and let me know because I really like to see it. Thanks for watching. Bye.